Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to defer highly appreciated assets so you can create and preserve more wealth. Defer the capital gains tax on highly appreciated assets so you can create and preserve more wealth. I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate financial wealth. And sometimes those who are really focused on making a big difference in the lives of veterans. And I'm excited about our next guest. He is out of the great state of Texas, originally from Minnesota. He served in the armed forces and the Air Force, and he is a husband, a father, an entrepreneur, and he's a coach for helping people who are veterans and looking for ways to coach and encourage them and equip them to unlock the benefits that they've earned for their amazing service. I'm so excited to bring him on the show. Please welcome to the show with me, Brian Reese. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Thanks, Brett. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. And for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Sure. I served in the United States Air Force from 2003 to 2012. Spent some time as a Department of Defense civil servant. So I worked in the Air Force as a civilian after I took off the uniform. And it was around that time when I started looking into the VA disability benefits process and very quickly got confused, became overwhelmed, ended up not getting the rating that I should have had by law, and lost about $100,000 of tax-free compensation that my family and I deserved. And it was around that time that I started doing research online, and I'm thinking to myself, it shouldn't take an advanced degree in thousands of hours of research to get the benefits that one deserves for wearing the uniform of their country. And as an entrepreneur, that's when I jumped right at this head first and said, there has to be a solution here. And that's what led to the creation of VA Claims Insider. We're an education company. We provide coaching and consulting services for underrated veterans and folks who are trying to get their VA disability benefits through the VA. And, really what we do in a nutshell is we've taken the confusing process, which can seem like it takes years only to end up denied, and we've made it easy. We've boiled it down to its most simplest elements, and we have an 8-step process where veterans get partnered with one of our coaches. That happens over about 30 days, and you walk the journey with us, and we're there for you no matter what. And so far, we've helped over 15,000 veterans directly in our program. Hundreds of thousands of veterans and their families come to our websites each month for our free services. And it's been such a blessing. We've changed so many lives, Brett. And, my life has been changed as well from the veterans that we serve. And it's just an absolute honor and a blessing to serve vets.
Amazing. I want to thank you for what you're doing. And it makes, I have family members who served in the Marines and served in the Army, and one that has a partial disability, right, with what he went through in the Special Forces. And so it means a lot, and I'm excited to spread awareness and to hear more about this. And we're going to be diving into all of that, which is basically getting the veteran benefits you deserve, you earned. And if you have a family member or a friend or anyone you know who's a veteran, I want you to think about sharing this episode. VAClaimsinsider.com is the website, VAClaimsinsider.com, Brian Reese. But before we go into some of these strategies and processes and some coaching here, I want to take one other step back, Brian. I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. Some people call them strengths. Some people call them superpowers. So I'm curious. I want you to go back to your high school days in Minnesota, right? Maybe you're playing hockey, right? Maybe you're doing something really cool, right? Really fun. You're growing up. But at one point, maybe someone's spoken to your life or things that you identified as some of your strengths. So what are those maybe one or two strengths that you believe you were given, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
Yeah. Well, the good Lord has certainly blessed me with many gifts, some of which I sort of just became aware of as I jumped into becoming an entrepreneur. But I think probably first and foremost is a gift that I've been given from the Lord is an ability to persevere through adversity. It's something that I learned at a young age through multiple disappointments, from not making hockey teams I felt like I should have made, or disappointments with, school or how something worked out in a travel team. Just the ability to persevere no matter what the situation is, and find an answer, find a solution. I think the other probably strength is around leadership and around being resourceful. Um, I truly think one of the most important skills that any person can develop is the ability to be resourceful. And I say this to our team all the time. I say, you know what? Talent doesn't matter. Your memory doesn't matter. Your background, your education, your experience, none of that matters. What matters to me is, can you learn, and can you be the most resourceful person in the room to find a way to yes? And it's something that we talk about here all the time. And that's a gift that I have, is the ability to be the most resourceful person in the room and find an answer. And I'll give you an example of this. When I started this business, I certainly was not an expert in VA disability benefits. It happened over time. It took a lot of research. It took a ton of reading. It took asking tons of questions. It took researching the law and testing and applying things. It happened through writing hundreds of blog posts. And so, I truly believe, Brett, that anybody can become an expert in anything. You just got to put in the work. And I think most people just aren't willing to put in the work. And I think that's what separates the successful people from the unsuccessful people.
Amazing, Brian. I love the way you say that. Talent doesn't matter. Memory doesn't matter. Uh, um, can you learn, and can you be Can you be the best person in the business, or the best person in the room, right, or in your business, to find a way to yes, to find a way to a solution? Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, Now let's dive right into the number one secret for veterans, right, to getting the benefits they've earned. So, what is that number one secret? What's the first step on this process and this journey?
Sure. The number one secret that is just not talked about enough is that VA disability claims come down to medical evidence. And the problem here, Brett, is most veterans don't have enough medical evidence in their active duty service treatment records. And the reason is, you probably never went to the doctor. Okay. You didn't want to be that guy or gal who looked weak. You didn't want to fall out of formation. You didn't want to be ostracized from your unit. Heaven forbid you became non deployable. Okay. So we suffer alone in silence, and we don't talk about the mental and physical conditions we're dealing with while we wear the uniform. And I'll tell you what happens then is, when you transition out of the service, you then start to go, man, I have all these conditions. I've got PTSD. I have migraine headaches. I've got sleep apnea. I've got, a painful nerve condition called radiculopathy. I've got flat feet. And you go to apply for benefits, and it all comes back denied. And the denial says something like, there's no evidence in your service treatment records of any complaints of sleep issues or any complaints of mental health conditions or blah, blah, blah. And that's really the first time, Brett, that a veteran becomes aware of, oh my gosh, I have a problem. What happened? The VA didn't believe me. What do I need to do now? And that's where a company like ours comes in, because we jump in there with the veteran. We say, look, the issue is you never went to the doctor on active duty. The solution is, get your butt to the VA now and get a diagnosis from your primary care doctor, or get a diagnosis from a private provider, and start building the case of medical evidence. And then through personal statements and things called nexus letters, the veteran can then connect their conditions back to their service, even if it's been years later and they've been denied multiple times. So that's the number one secret, is making sure you have enough medical evidence in your record. It doesn't have to be in your service records, because chances are you didn't go to the doctor, but it has to be in there now. And that's one of the services, Brett, that we provide in our coaching program, is we're able to connect veterans to private medical professionals who can help with things like nexus letters to prove service connection of their disabilities, to document severity of symptoms, so that veterans can finally get awarded the benefits they've earned for their service.
Got it. So let me see if I can pull that out, right? So the number one secret to VA disability, or number one secret to getting the benefits you've earned as a veteran, is it's all going to come down to medical evidence, and the evidence is going to determine whether or not you're going to get the benefits. And as a part of that, and I can imagine, right? You're in the military, you're there, and you're building your mind, you're building your body, you're building your leadership, right? You're serving your country, and you're with your squad, right? And you don't want to walk out and be seen as the one who's, the weakling, or is dragging behind, or whatever it might be, whatever the humility or the pride and the ego gets in the way, and we're not documenting that. Those who are
Yeah.
serving are not documenting that, and they suffer alone in silence. And now post active duty, all of these things are really kind of maybe coming to light. What is it about it that, I mean, do you feel like the PTSD and the sleep apnea and the flat feet and all those challenges, is it like the body and the mind and the emotions finally relax after being in such a heightened state of adrenaline and intensity, that they just start to notice it a little bit more? I mean, what percentage of it is it, hey, I noticed it, I just ignored it? And what percentage of it is, now that I'm actually relaxed and back to normal society, like, oh yeah, I'm not normal right now. Like, I went through a lot of trauma. Like, can you kind of walk through that psychology there?
It's probably some of both. In my experience, though, Brett, we're all trained in the military culture, which is, mission first, take care of everybody else except ourselves. And so I think when you're wearing the uniform, you're so worried about taking care of the mission and helping your brother and sister, making sure nobody else gets left behind, that we don't think about our own, mental and physical health. We just don't. And a lot of us are in the military too, and we're a bit younger. And so, I think that factors in as well, where you take off the uniform 10, 15, 20 years go by. These conditions that maybe were only small problems while you wore the uniform are now significant problems that are causing major issues in, your work, your life, and your social functioning. And so I think it's the military culture that, we don't want to be honest about our mental and physical conditions. And my dad asked me a while back, he said, what do you actually do at VA Claims Insider? Brian, what do you do? I said, I give veterans permission to get the benefits they legally, morally, ethically, and medically deserve. And that's really important because that's part of the coaching process. Part of the reason why veterans need a coach is we're terrible at acknowledging or realizing our blind spots. And sometimes we're not willing to admit what's going on until somebody else gives us permission and starts drawing it out of us. And so that's where that inside out coaching process becomes so important. And Brett, I'm gonna make a really bold statement. And some people may disagree with me. Frankly, I don't care because I'm speaking from experience when I make the statement. Every single veteran suffers and suffered trauma. Every single veteran is suffering from symptoms of mental health. It's just the reality of what we see. And yet there's even the VA doesn't want to acknowledge. The VA statistics, they'll say, oh, only 25% of veterans have PTSD. Well, that's because they're only reporting the veterans who are seeking PTSD treatment at the VA. They're not including the millions of veterans who have PTSD who don't get help, and they're not including those who are seeking private help because they don't trust the VA with their health care. So I truly believe that the veteran suicide epidemic is a direct result of the fact that all veterans have mental health conditions. And until we get real about that, until we address it, I don't think we can stop suicide. I really don't.
Wow, that's powerful and that's amazing. And I really want to reiterate what you do, right? And you talked about the gifts of the ability to persevere through adversity and the leadership by being resourceful, right? And saying, hey, how do we give the permission and the encouragement and unlock the false beliefs of those who are stuck behind the culture of the military, the culture of their own egos or pride, or whatever, right? Whatever it might be, to know that they have the permission to get the benefits they deserve legally, morally, and ethically. I love how that hits at the core on every angle. And you're right. I think the moment we actually exchange what is true and let our ego get out of the way is the moment we can actually start to solve the problem or move past it. But if we're not acknowledging the actual statistics and the reality behind the stats, or the real story behind the, like you say, 25% at the VA, because those are the only ones that are actually getting their treatment. The rest of them, or a lot of them, or all of them, right, are not, right? Or forgot, or don't think they can, or gave up on the process because they hadn't properly documented it during their active duty or whatever, right? So that's amazing. And so talk about step two then. So secret number one is obviously acknowledging the problem, right? Acknowledging what they can be doing. What's step number two, especially to working with you? Someone shows up and they're ready to get going. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to go right now. What would be step number two, Brian?
Step two is to get educated. And that's one of the services that we provide. Is we provide live mastermind coaching sessions. So we do live sessions just like how we're talking right now over Zoom. There may be 15, 20, 30 veterans on a live Zoom coaching call. We're offering 4 to 5 classes every single day that are live streamed from our hundreds of coaches from around the world. So once the veteran signs up, you got to get educated in the process. And I like to think about it in terms of football, because everybody understands sports. Okay, imagine if Bill Belichick is trying to win a game for the New England Patriots, but he doesn't know all the rules of NFL football. Okay, he's going to have a pretty hard time putting together a winning game plan if he doesn't understand the rules of the game. Okay, if he doesn't understand the strategy of the other side, how is he going to put together a defensive game plan against their offense to counter them? Well, the same is true for the VA disability process. If you don't understand the rules, which some of them are legal rules, some of them are medical rules, okay, if you don't even understand the basic elements, how do you even know what you're eligible to apply for? If you don't know what you're eligible to apply for, how are you ever going to put together a strategy to help you get the benefits you've earned for your service? But yet, that's what millions of veterans have done. And let me be clear, it's not their fault. Okay? It's the VA's fault. It's the system's fault. Because when we take off the uniform, they kick your butt out the door. You're no longer useful to the military. And we spend years sort of floundering on our own. And so that's one of the huge values, Brett, that we provide, is a personalized strategy for the veteran. And we go head to toe so they understand what they're suffering from, what they may even be eligible for by law. And then we show them how to get those benefits. Like literally step by step, we show them on the screen how you get them. And I'm telling you, there's nobody else doing this. And that's really, again, why I started this business, was just out of necessity of going, I can't believe nobody is helping veterans. Okay. I'm going to help them.
Amazing, Brian. By the way, you can learn more about Brian Reese at vaclaimsinsider.com, vaclaimsinsider.com. Another quote that comes to mind on this is it's learning, and we all have to learn this, right? I think on a daily basis, right? Replacing the joy of being right with the joy of learning what's true, right? And so sometimes we want to believe that we either know it, or we should have known it, or we're embarrassed to tell it, especially guys, right? We don't want to be told that we don't know something, right? Or we're not right, or we're missing something, right? Especially when it comes to vulnerabilities with our mental health or our bodies or whatever, right? You know what I mean? These are all these insecurities that are going on behind the scenes, but we've got to train and coach and be with those who are going to train and coach us, of replacing the joy of being right with the joy of learning what's true, right? Because it's not just, at the end of the day, people are coming back from the military, they're starting families, right? They're getting married, right? And they're looking to create a legacy, and they've got to get right, with what they're facing, right? And I can't think of a better way but to connect with someone like yourself and your team and that community you probably built, right, around that, for people who are going through similar challenges, and together make progress to do that. Anything to add to that, Brian?
I love that. And I love that quote. I really do. I mean, that's something that really helped propel me forward because in my younger days, I needed to be right. Big ego, hockey player, thought I knew everything. Really through growth, through a lot of prayer, through a lot of reading, through coaching. I mean, I have my own coach as well that has helped me through some really tough things and helped me be a better leader. Um, yeah, I'll tell you, there's something that I want every veteran to really hear, okay? Because this is so important. And you know what? I want non-veterans to hear this. One of the core values of the Air Force is service before self, okay? Now, I thought that meant service at the expense of self, and that's not what it means. Okay. And so I think what I've learned through this journey to include, the fact that I've got multiple mental health conditions. I deal with anxiety, depression. I've fought through alcoholism, drug addiction. I've done it all. I've been there, done that. I got the t-shirt. Okay. There's nothing you could tell me that would surprise me or something that I probably haven't done myself. But I'll tell you, I didn't get sober. I didn't start really, really celebrating life change until I actually took a look in the mirror and realized through a coach that service before self does not mean service at the expense of self. And I realized I can't take care of anybody else. I can't take care of my wife. I can't take care of my kids. I can't lead our company unless I take care of me first. And I think some people, Brett, they tend to think that, well, if you are thinking about yourself, that means you're selfish. No, you have to be selfless to understand that before you have to get help and you got to get better before you can be the man, the husband, the wife, the brother, the sister, the uncle, the cousin, the leader. Before you're going to be that person that God created you to be, you got to get right first. And, it wasn't for me until I had that breakthrough with a coach where he kept asking me all these questions. And he just kept asking me, Brian, what's the one thing holding you back or standing in your way? What's the one thing that if it happened, your business growth would accelerate? What's the one thing that would improve your marriage or your relationship with your kids? And I always had the same BS response, more time, maybe if we go to counseling, that would improve my marriage. Maybe if we get to next quarter and we're able to hire more staff, we'll have more revenue and our business will grow. If I do more marketing, want to know what the answer was? The answer was alcohol for me. If I could have quit the booze, everything would have improved in my life. Okay. But I wasn't honest about it for about 7 years. And, really it wasn't until I got sober and honest about what I was dealing with, why I was drinking all the time, why I was taking drugs. It wasn't until I got real about that life and business started to accelerate to a level that I could have never dreamed of. And so, I'm here to tell you folks that no matter what you're dealing with, somebody else is dealing with it too, or somebody else has dealt with it. Okay. And we want to help you celebrate life change. That's what we do here.
And all the people said amen, brother, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's inspiring, and that's vulnerable, and that's so needed to lead as a leader with vulnerability and openness, and know that you have a coach. If you're a veteran listening to this, you have a coach that you can connect with and a community to connect with who's been where you're at or is currently going through some of the same struggles, right? And that's the key. Find a guide, find a coach who's a few steps ahead of you, and put on the humility, put on some more humility, take off the pride, and go get the help that you deserve, that you need, that your family is counting you on to get. And so you can learn more about Mr. Brian Reese and getting the veteran benefits you've earned by going to vaclaimsinsider.com. It's vaclaimsinsider.com. That being said, Brian, are you ready for the lightning round?
Let's do it.
All right. Knowing what you know now, if you can go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you make sure to tell yourself to do?
I would have told myself to take care of yourself, to quit drinking alcohol, to quit abusing drugs, right? And to get in the Word, to get in the Bible, I mean, if I would have done some of those things early on, it probably would have accelerated my growth by at least 10 years. But hey, we live, we learn.
Hey, well, thank you for sharing that. Number two question: what's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Ooh, there's a few of them. So there's a few books that I try to read at least once every year. One of them is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Another one is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I absolutely love The Alchemist. If you're looking for a story of finding oneself, it's a fantastic fiction novel, one of my favorites. Those are probably the books I gift the most.
Awesome. Question number three: what are you most curious about right now?
I am most curious about the rise of decentralized cryptocurrency assets and NFTs. I truly believe that this thing called the metaverse is going to completely change everything. I mean, I really do believe that the future of the internet, the future of finance is going to happen through blockchain, through decentralization of assets. And I think ownership, literally anything that can be owned physically, is going to be owned digitally. And the digital assets might actually have more value than the physical assets. And I mean, I truly believe we're at the very beginning of a multi trillion dollar industry.
Amazing. By the way, I'm gonna do a little plug. We have a cryptocurrency deferred sales trust mastermind that happens every Friday, and as a part of that, we have folks that have multiple millions of dollars of gains in their cryptocurrency or other assets too, businesses, real estate, primary homes that they're selling, and they're looking to ways to defer the capital gains tax and to be able to diversify and invest into other businesses or other real estate or the stock market. And so if you want to learn more about that, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. You can register for free and connect with our team there and other people. That being said, next question, and that's
Very cool.
and that's really fascinating. See, I still love that you put that in there. I know clearly you were going to talk about that. That's really cool. Next question is favorite leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by.
Probably, probably around the lines of, nobody cares about what you say; they want to see what you do. And so, do your actions mirror your words? And I think as a leader, early on, I don't think they did for me. I really did. I think I would say one thing and I would do another. And when you do that, you have no credibility. And so, I think rather than boiling it down to one specific quote, I would just say that as a leader, make sure that if you talk the talk, you're walking the walk, because every single person is watching what you do and how you do it. And if your actions don't match your words, you're going to have no credibility. You're not going to have influence as a leader.
Very well said. Last question. After all your service, thank you for your service. After all the people you've helped change lives with VA claimsinsider.com and with your family and everything, where you've been, what you've been through, how do you stay centered? What's the number one habit to help you stay centered in your values and stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
Routine. I mean, truly, it's again, what would I tell my younger self? What's a way that anybody can improve themselves? It's to develop better habits, and that's not just some buzzword of habits. It's just we are what we do. We are what we continually do. And so, if you want to have a breakthrough, start looking at somebody who's further along than you, model what they do, and then put it into a daily routine. Okay, I can't emphasize enough how important my daily routine is. I mean, I wake up at the same time every day. I do the same thing every morning. I start doing the same things all the time. And I truly believe that that helps you accelerate your results.
Fantastic, Brian. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you remind them one last time what's the best place for them to find you?
You can find me online at vaclaimsinsider.com. Feel free to shoot us a note. We also put out a ton of free content on our VA Claims Insider YouTube channel. Our blog is visited about 250,000 times per month. You can find us at vaclaimsinsider.com/blog.
Brian, Reese, it's been more than a pleasure. It's been an honor getting to know a little bit, hear a little about your story, and an honor to hear the lives that you're changing and what you're doing. I want to encourage you to keep using your gifts of the ability to persevere through adversity. Don't let anything stop you, right, from finding ways and finding good solutions to make it seamless for veterans to get the benefits that they deserve, and also being a leader who's resourceful, right, and leading by example. Thank you for your service and your continued service. And so please connect with Brian, VA Claims Insider. Please share this with somebody. It can help, okay? You can change a life right now by sharing this with a veteran or somebody who needs to hear this and needs to take action, okay? Please. We really so appreciate that. And for our listeners, we also want to thank you for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. We're also streaming on expertcresecrets.com as well. For all of those all of our listeners out there, we appreciate you there. And we want to remind you that you don't have to feel stuck by capital gains tax. If you're selling cryptocurrency or a business or real estate and you're looking for ways to unlock that capital, get cash flow, all tax deferred, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com and learn more about the Deferred Sales Trust. And don't forget about the mastermind every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's the Cryptocurrency Deferred Sales Trust Mastermind. It's register for free by going to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Join us as we talk about and make all things simple in the Deferred Sales Trust. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we look forward to talking